All right. Good morning, everybody. This is COOLA with Raw Stocks and another pre-market prep. Um, Today we have core CPI that just released about 11 minutes ago, and it is what some would say bullish, and some might think differently. So coming in on an actual core CPI here, 0.1%. Down from their forecast at 0.3% and down over the previous month by a tenth of a percent as well. So a drop across the board on CPI. The idea here is that are we actually seeing a decrease in inflation, or is this a demand issue? And so that is going to be the next kind of discussion, and probably the next headline that you're going to start seeing. So, okay, a couple things as far as today. This has moved the market. Something where you need to look at is right here, our 10-year bond auction. This is going to be a big deal. And then again, we have our federal budget balance here. They're going to release, and this could show virtually a huge move in the deficit. It could also move the market as well. So we need to take a look at this and kind of see where we stand in regards to the federal budget balance and the 10-year bond coming in around the noon hour. So that's noon Central Standard Time and 1 o'clock on Central Standard Time as well. So, all right, let's move off macros. Yesterday, we saw a decent move. We talked about overall the market being bullish. We have NVIDIA doing well, staying over its daily 4 here. You can see that it's consistently stayed above its daily 4 over the last, say 2 weeks here. We're getting a potential expansion move today towards 150 from the looks of it. 145 obviously is our gamma wall. We talked about this and we're sitting right at it. So as we open, we're going to see kind of what do we do from here. But let's switch over to SPY real quick. I like covering SPY as it's the win for the market. I talk about this often. You're seeing us press into 605 right now for SPY. This is kind of where that upside mark we are looking around. There is a clear level here near that 609.80 area, 609.80 on SPY. We're gonna go over that in just a second, but right now we're sitting right at 605. Is this going to get a further expansion off this daily 4 and get a push towards the all-time highs again, or is this setting up for a drop? Well, let's take a look at it. Special thanks to our sponsors, Black Box Stocks and Gamma Edge. Without those guys, we would not be able to provide this to you guys daily. If you're interested in utilizing the tools that we do to make informed decisions, make sure that you go check out their links in our bio, in the description in the videos, and go support them. So let's take a look over here at the full complex on the S&P 500. You're going to see that our supply is set up here at 6,100 and the demand is near that 5,905. So quite the range in regards to where we're at. I would like to take note that JP Morgan's collar is at 5,905 on the high side. So this is interesting that we do see that. I imagine that they're positioned for this type of move right now to the upside, and then obviously they would make a different hedge near that 5,905 area. But 6,100, we've talked about this for several days now. That is an expanding level. And if we do get to that 6,100 area, that would be really close. Let's see. Really close to our all-time highs, but not quite there. Our all-time high is sitting at, 6147. So it's up there. It's real close. But as of right now, we're kind of just sitting around that 60, right around that 66 area as far as SPX goes. Are we going to see the expansion? potentially today might be just that. We might see the expansion into that 6100 area, but let's take a look on the daily 60, 90, and 6000. So let's adjust our range for the day trading. Let's move over to SPX here and adjust that. So yesterday we had a nice containment in regards to just kind of looking where we're at. Nice support right off our negative GEX here at 6,000 when we had that big drop. And we went long on this to 60-40. So it was a really nice, well, 60-40 on futures, 60-35 right here on SPX. And then it kind of struggled up in this range, didn't quite get to the high side. We talked about a potential squeeze over 602 on SPY, which is virtually right around here. And right around here. And it did get that squeeze over there, did drop for a second, and then really went after it. And we talked about a high side 60-50 visit yesterday. Didn't quite get it, but it is what it is. Let me remove these levels. They're not relevant anymore. Let's expand our daily range today all the way up. Look at the expansion here, all the way up to 6,100 on the day, potentially, right? So the low side remains right near 6,000 for today's range. Let's move this over, and let's move this over a little bit. So if, as we stand, we're right around this level over here, you're going to see we're right in the middle of that. So is it a good time to buy? Not necessarily. It's not a good time to go long as they open. A lot of times what we see is, we open up high and then we see some type of drop for another type of entry. Well, where would we want to enter on something like that? Well, clearly the way that we like to set up is somewhere near 6,000. That's the low side of our range. We looked for it bounce off of that and look for a move up here. Now, will that be the case today? I'm not so sure of that. I mean, as of right now, and we take a landscape, you can see the transitional area right here is at 60-40. So you can use that as support. That 60-40 zone is a potential support. That's yesterday's high. If you start slipping below that, then you've got to be very careful on actually what could happen. You could see it go all the way down towards that 6,000. So if you're looking to go long, it's showing support on yesterday's high near that 60-40 level. That's the transitional area for the GEX data. And at that point, you may see that bounce off of there and try to make that run towards 6,100. But if we do slip that, then you really need to be cautious for some type of downwards move towards the bottom side of this range. This could be, like I said, interpreted as a actual negative thing that they're seeing demand shrink. And that is why we're seeing pricing come down as much as we're seeing. So all eyes on today. This is a decent sized move to either way. I think you could probably even look at straddles and say that it might have an opportunity here for a potential move to the downside and the upside, and both look to pay. So let's look for confluence on SPY. Full complex is near that 610 level. You can start to see that 615, 620, 625, they're all expanding now, more so than they have. But 610 seems to be the next key level that we need to be watching. And it really translates because it's 6,100 on SPX, and I favor them in regards to actual support and resistance. I favor SPX levels more than I do SPY. So if you're looking at it, in that manner, 6,100 is really like a translation to right around that 609, 608 area. So will we get to 610? I'm not so sure about that. We need to be kind of cognizant of that. On today's 0 day, you can see that there's a full extension type of slide towards that 609, 6010 area. Again, standing by the 6,100 level, 609, right around there. So 599, let's mark this up. $609 to $599, which is virtually 6,100. or excuse me, 6,000 on SPX, you can see that we're right smack in the middle of it. So is it a great time to buy? Again, not so great right here. You can look to hold the previous day's high, which is the 60-40 mark, and see if it wants to show support there. And at that point, I would probably look to see this thing sell, maybe come off it, and maybe retest one more time before looking for some type of entry here. But could it just wick off of here and keep running? Absolutely. But those are things that you need to be monitoring and kind of look at in regards to a risk versus reward for you. All right, moving on to Tesla. Yesterday, we talked about the 325 area, 320 and 325 area. We talked about if it got over 320, we can see an expansion towards that 325 area where we would see resistance. Well, this is exactly what we got yesterday. Today, we're looking at it, and it's opening above that at 335. This puts Tesla in a predicament here, as if we're going to see a potential gamma squeeze up towards that 355 area. Let's verify that. It was what was off the data last night. We'll see what it says. 350, big time pull here. 90,000 on the net GEX here. So huge upside in regards to the full complex. Let's kind of see where people are positioned. And it's the same here on the weekly. You can see that this has grown significantly at the 350 level. And your demand is at 300. So the range is substantial here. Absolutely substantial. As far as where to play on this makes it difficult. Again, you're sitting right here in the middle of the range here. So is it a great time to buy for some type of expansion? Not really, but is there areas where you can buy and look for support? Sure. Let's take a look at it on our daily chart here. You can see that we had a strong bullish close over the daily 200, over the daily 4, and the daily 50, and we're starting to see some type of distribution potentially to the upside. We're testing our daily 20 here at 336. We're opening up near that level at 334. I imagine this will probably come down some when we open. And we'll be right near that level. So this is going to be an interesting key level for Tesla. But again, key level to the upside, 350 is kind of where this is targeted at. So right in that area. So will we get the expansion towards that? Potentially. I think you need to be very cognizant of, some key levels. Previous day high here at 327. And then additionally from there, watch some type of move from that area up towards 350. But again, let's take a look at the data real quick and kind of get some type of relative plan for that. If you look at the landscape here, you're going to see the transitional area is all the way back at 312.5. So it's not great, as that's really far back for us, and we're probably not going to get that unless this thing is all virtually a rug pull. Doubt that's the case. Everything does seem bullish. So I do think we'll get that expansion to the upside. But if I had to mark it anywhere, we'd look at this big support here at 325 as the potential low side in regards to where you would like to enter. And again, that puts us near yesterday's high. So there's some confluence there that we're seeing support at yesterday's high from SPY and Tesla. We're going to take a look at NVIDIA next, but watch for this area to now flip to support here instead of resistance for a potential move and a bounce off of that area for an expansion towards the top of our range near that 350. So Tesla is very interesting here. Very, very interesting in regards to a bigger move, or we see that potentially cross the market. But my guess is we're going to visit and probably make all-time highs on the market. Will we see that with Tesla? I doubt it. But there is an obvious move towards that all-time high on like the S&P. And at that point, I think we could see some type of chop between, say, that 61 50 area and potentially 6,000. Let's take a look over at NVIDIA. Semiconductors really pulled back a little bit early yesterday, and then we saw an expansion off of that consolidation up towards our resistance area. Yesterday, we talked about this range. You can see that 145 on Monday hit the high. We came back down and tested this 142 support range that we had marked, and now we're seeing it get and test back at 145. Let's pull the data real quick and kind of see what it says in regards to Tesla or in regards to NVIDIA and see if this is expanding. So full complex 150 high, it's huge, y'all. It is huge. 150, we got a million net gex here, followed by 160 at a 500,000. So this has a big draw to the upside here. Let's see if there's any type of containment here. 130 to the 137 to the downside. And we're seeing a ton of draw and bullish sentiment stacking here, looking to target into that 150 range. 145 has now been taken over by 150. So this does look like a potential expansion here scenario for NVIDIA. But as of right now, we have to expand this. Let's click this up. And did I lock it? Unlock. Let's go to 150. So this is now changed, right? This is now changed. We see a range all the way up to 150. We have to be careful, y'all. I'm telling y'all, these ranges, we're kind of popping on the top of them, and we're going to see if it's going to actually expand or if this is a rug pull towards the bottom of our ranges. There is always that possibility today. Like I said, you can look at the CPI data for yourself and kind of make your best judgment. But realistically, it just shows that we're really down in pricing and we're seeing a potential demand issue. In regards to a plan with NVIDIA today, transitional area stands at that 142 area. So again, that's virtually what we were looking at yesterday. We looked at, virtually we had our 150 calls that we were looking in on the potential breakout here. And we held it looking for, we held it through the pullback here because 142 was our support. And when we had the pullback here and saw the recovery, I think we virtually went 1 to 5 here. It was considered a lotto because of this is not a great entry here. But we did, on this consolidation and this pullback and recovery, we did enter into several more 5 to 1 here on the lottos, looking for the expansion towards that 150. So yesterday it marked a 50% gain. We're going to see if it's going to get the expansion. We'll see if we can get roughly 300. I think if we got closer to that 148, 149 level today, we might see that 300 to 400% gain on that particular play. We're going to see. So in regards to the plan today, it would be virtually a buy at 142. If it breaks below 142, you're out of this. And we're seeing a potential expansion up towards 150. Let me check the chat real quick. It's 8 o'clock. If anybody has a ticker, I see Ed typing in something. If anybody has a ticker you want me to do, I will do that. I'll do 1. And Ed looks like he's jumping on it. Oh, he's asking about the recording. The recording will come out directly after I finish this. I'll give it just a second, see if anybody else has anything. It will be in our premium chat. So the recordings come out in our premium chat right after the open. So I've got asked to do QQQ. If in regards to, yeah, you're welcome, Ed. In regards to like where we release this, we release it after the open for the public, but our premium chat gets the recordings prior to that. So I always release them right as we're done to the premium in case they missed it, and then it goes out publicly after that, after the open. So Qs, I'll look at the Qs real quick. We'll do that. So clearly we see a nice move in regards to the QQQ or into the Qs. Previous all-time highs and major levels towards that 538, 540 level. We're at 535.62 right now. Let's pull up the data on it real quick. Transitional area is way back here. We're kind of sitting right at what was the pivot point here at 535, but you could see 540 is growing, right? So let's pull this up on here. 540 is growing. You can see it's pretty good size. It's not as substantial as things we've seen on SPX in regards to like say like our 6100 level and even further distribution to the upside, but it is it is still in a very much call dominated gamma condition. We have a 535 to 530 demand here, which is really interesting to see that is kind of like I said, it kind of supports what we're seeing, that there isn't much expansion, or at least it hasn't taken over like we see 6100 has over 6,000. 535 still stands to be the ceiling today, but if you can look at this here, 540 is close behind 535. So 535 to 530 is our range here. So if we mark that out, 535 to 530 is our range, with the understanding that 540 could expand very much. So watch for a 535 recheck at open. If we're sitting here and we're opening near that 536 level, which I doubt, I imagine that we'll probably get sucked in closer to the actual top of this range by the time we open. But if we do open above here, I think it's a pretty good opportunity across all the indexes to see some type of sell-off to confirm on yesterday's previous high. So almost like, I'm not going to say guaranteed, but this is one of your more of a high level type of probability here that we see it recheck the top of the range. So our range right here is 535 to 530. If we do open in this range and you got, say like you got short pre-market or something like that, it is a pretty close to 90% probability that we're going to check up 535 here, even if it's real brief. I always say aim like 10 cents above the actual level for a play like that. But yeah, that's absolutely something that can happen here. And then if we do check that and show support, 540 grows, we could definitely see that expansion up towards 540. And I think at that point we could see a chop, or we could see a big sell down later in the day and see us move back towards that 535 area, or even see a larger sell and drive us towards the bottom of this range. And why do I think that? I think this is all a draw on liquidity here. And I do think that we're going to have some type of pullback and see some type of consolidation again. But as of right now, everything is saying bull, and we play it as bullish sentiment until it's proven otherwise. So our ranges would be short up here, short below 535, and we're showing support here for the upside until proven otherwise. Like I said, so below 535, you can be short for a move towards the bottom of the range, but over 535, you're long looking for 540 here. It's your pivot point at this point right here. But do not be surprised to see a check up and a run if everything does want to continue to the upside. Most things are looking like, especially with the Mag 7, most of them are looking like they want to run towards their upside target now. So Hopefully that was helpful. I'm going to go ahead and get this recording out to our premium chat. I do want to say thanks for tuning in. Make sure you guys are subscribing, whether it's to our YouTube channel, X, or TikTok. Make sure you subscribe, turn notifications on. And if you're interested in finding access to this, doesn't need to be our premium or anything. You can actually see this pre-market prep every single morning if you join the Discord. This access is live and streamed in our Discord and then sent out as a recording to our premium channel prior to open, but it does go out publicly after the open. But if you want access to it and be able to set your plan, then you needed to get into the Discord. All right, rawstocksllc.com. That is rawstocksllc.com. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we'll catch you later.